I didn't want to be here anyway. So if I could suffer through being in that house, then I can eventually make it out, and hopefully there had to be something better than
my
this.
God, the depression, the oppression, the attacks,
But that being said, my suffering hadn't reached its cap. And because my suffering hadn't reached its cap, I just kept on living a lifestyle that was comfortable to me, which was instability, which was reckless, which was going somewhere, going down fast. So, once I graduated college in 2018, I got my bachelor's in public relations. I moved home for about 6 months. And then I got a job offer to be a case manager in Tampa, and I relocated from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Tampa. So in that year from graduating, that February, I left Tallahassee, moved to Florida moved to Florida. I think it was in February. By the end of summer, early fall, I was in Tampa, and I stayed in Tampa for about 2 years. So in that 2-year time span, I went from being a dependency case manager for Hillsborough County to becoming a career advisor for a small medical college. At that medical college, I met this young lady. And we just kind of hit it off. And because of like circumstances, she ended up staying with me. And in between that time, like I said, it's not that I wasn't absent influences of God. He was still trying to talk to me and get to me any way possible, because through the case manager job, I met another woman, and she invited me to her church. I went to the New Year's service. It was so good. Never went back.
why? The suffering had not been enough. The suffering had not been enough. But in between the transition of the dependency job and the job where I met the young lady, my suffering had reached its cap. Okay? My suffering had reached its cap. I ended up getting into an altercation with the person that I was seeing at that time, and I was lying in the hallway between my guest bedroom and the living room. And I was having an anxiety attack. And I remember telling God, I said, Lord, if you are real, if you can hear me, if you are real, if you can hear me, if you let me get through this night and not die, if you let me get through this night and not die, I will give you a real shot. I'll give you a real chance. I'll try to pursue you for real. If you can just let me get through this night and not die, I will. And I made it through the night. And then I made it through the day. And then I made it through the week. And then the month. And it was then where I really began to try to get to know God on my own. And this is the thing, like, my testimony is not like everyone. Some people, there's a lot of people, they met God at church. They got invited to a service. They met him. They got saved that day, and it was done. God met me in the middle of an anxiety attack after an altercation where I really believe I was going to lose my life. I was weeping on the floor, and he was my only option. That's where he met me, in my own home. So the inception of me giving my life and beginning to give my life and just have a relationship with him started with intimacy and desperation. I was at my breaking point. My suffering had reached its limit. And so from there, after that, I realized, like, I have to quit this job because it was in the middle of COVID. This was 2020.
Like COVID just hit, I was transporting kids that were positive. There were no precautions to protect us because I was considered a I forget what it's called, where basically you are a necessity, like you're a necessity worker or something like that. So, and I was working 60 hours weeks. I was working 60-hour weeks. I was not sleeping. I wasn't eating properly. I was drinking like crazy. Every day was a blunt and a bottle. It was, and when I say bottle, I'm not talking wine. I'm not talking wine. I'm talking that hard stuff. Like, that was the life because I didn't know how to cope. I had never been to therapy. I had nobody to help. Everyone that I knew and that I cared about did not either couldn't deal with what I was dealing with, or they lived hours away. So yeah, and that's how I ended up going to the job as the career advisor, and I met the young lady, and I met her in her hardship. And like I said, I was a nice person, and so in her hardship, I allowed her to move in with me, and she was in that middle ground where she knew God, like she knew him. She knew him, she loved him. She just wasn't in order. That might not be the right word. She just wasn't in order. And so that was perfect for me because I didn't know anyone that was pursuing God in any capacity. So that relationship helped bring insight to certain stuff and language to certain stuff. And it was through her that I officially gave my life to Christ, because she was going home for Christmas. She invited me to come out with her. And this is the thing, right? When she invited me to come to Christmas to visit her family, I did not want to go. And the reason why I didn't want to go is that even though I was growing in my relationship with God and I was getting to know him and I was really giving this a shot, I had reached my capacity in suffering. So my plan was, when she got out of my house, was to finally end it, to finally crash out. I set the date. I knew how. I knew where. I was done. And don't get me wrong, I was grieving because I was like, dang, I really thought this was going to save me. And I don't feel saved yet. I don't feel convinced yet. I don't feel that hope and that love and that peace that y'all talking about. I don't feel that yet. And I don't know how to get there. And honestly, I'm tired of breathing. So when she leaves, I'm going to pack up everything. I'm going to set everything up. I had already given my goodbyes to my family, unknowing to them. But I was ready. So when she invited me, I was like, all right, I'm going to go. So I went. We ended up going to service. We ended up going to church service. And they did an altar call. And I felt myself get up. Because I remember I was sitting there and the pastor was like, and stop texting that N-word. And I said, oh. Because a big portion of like me getting saved was that altercation that I had with the very person that I was texting. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, he can see. Oh, he talking to me, because I was texting him in the middle of service. And this is someone that I told myself I need to break. Like, I've already broke it off with them in person, but they kept on pursuing me, and I just felt bad because it's a long time. That was like an 8-year situation relationship, so that's a long time to kind of cut someone off. So that being said, any hudo, this is longer than I expected. That being said, when they did the altar call, I came up. And that man prayed for me. He prayed for me. He prayed against the depression that I was feeling, the anxiety that I was feeling, the witchcraft that I knew about. Because, come on, say I see him when, hey, you know when there's like stuff going on because you grow up knowing about that stuff. So that off of me. And when I say what I felt in my living room that day when I asked God to protect me and to save me and get me through that night was 1,000 times greater at that altar. It felt like literally whatever was holding my breath, and I didn't even know that there was something on my chest. Whatever was holding my breath had been lifted, and I gasped. I went, and I fell. I fell doom at that altar. And I cried like I'd never cried before. I cried like I never cried before. And that's when I officially gave my life to Christ. December 2020, in the middle of the pandemic in Memphis, Tennessee, in a small church that I had never been to with a girl that I barely knew. And that is the beautiful thing about God. He will send people. He will use people. He will use even like the portion of your heart that is soft and that is open to him to get you to where you need to be. And I needed to be there. And that's what happened. So that's when I officially gave my life to Christ, and I've been walking with him ever since. And it has not been easy. It has been hard. It has been deliverance after deliverance. It has been prayer after prayer. It has been fast after fast. It has been fall after fall, but ultimately it has been glory to glory. Okay, victory to victory. And even where I am now, in this year of 2024, on August 31st, I got baptized by water. Even though I have been filled with the Holy Spirit, I have heavenly language, I got baptized by water. And that's a whole nother experience that I've been able to have with God. And so I said all of that to say that this testimony that I have, where the Lord, he literally gave me the will to live. So when you see me, it's not just like, oh, there's this girl that makes videos, that makes content. Like, oh, this is my friend if I'm your friend, or oh, this is my sister if I'm your sister. No. God saved me so that you can encounter me, so that you can hear these words. Whoever the you may be, he saved me for this. Because I had no intentions of being here. I had no intentions of seeing past 25. I turned 29 this year. That is... And so my gratefulness is on another level, because I'm living the life I could not see. I'm living the life that I casted away. I'm living the life that I didn't account for. My birthday will be a memorial of me, of who I was, before I even got a chance to become who I was supposed to be. And yes, I've faced a lot. I've dealt with a lot, and I'm still facing a lot, and I'm still dealing with a lot. But there was a God in heaven that loved me oh so much, that cared about me oh so much, to save me in the middle of a night when my suffering had reached its cap. And I tell the people in my life, you have to understand how important you are to God. That 4 years ago, he found me in my darkest point, and he saved me so that you can hear my words, so that you can have access to me and what he got me through. Because sometimes we need perspective of bro, I'm just going through it. And I want you to understand that there's someone that has gone through it too, but has made it to the other side, where I don't have anxiety attacks every day like I used to. And when they do come up, I have resolve for it, that I don't want to take my life anymore. But when it does show up, I have resolve for it,
that I'm no longer living recklessly. But when those appetites show up, I have resolve for it. This is not a testimony that stopped 4 years ago, like, oh, I got saved and I didn't want to kill myself anymore. And oh my God, now it's great. No, I got saved. And every day he saves me. And every day he keeps me. And every day he protects me. And every day he shows me more of me and what needs to die in me, so that I can really live. That's every day. It's a journey. It's not a moment. It's a journey. The moment gets you in, but the journey is what you walk out. So we all have our cross, and that's my cross. That testimony is my cross. Those afflictions are my cross, but the victory is my God. The victory is my God. And that's what I'm ultimately grateful for. I'm ultimately grateful for. Because when I look back at that little girl who had no protection, who the world chewed up and spit out, who the world did not want, because as much as I cried out that I was in pain, that I was suffering, no one did anything. No one helped. No one cared. Not in the way that I needed. Not in the way that invoked action. But God did. And for him, I'm forever grateful. So this is just a toast to my Lord and my Savior who saved me. And just transparency of this walk and this journey. That's how it started. And it's going very, very well. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. And as always, I'm sending you guys peace and love. There you go. Love from here and above. Bye.